Good morning, lovelies. Um, Getting a little bit later of a start here today. I know it seems like every single day is a little bit later, but it won't be as of Monday because I start the training for my new job. So we will have these done before 8 a.m. before I have to start the other job. But today I had to take my husband to work so I could run some errands and get some stuff done before the new job starts. And so yesterday was absolutely an awesome day. And good morning, Rebecca. And I got a ton of stuff done. But then I sat down last night after finishing up the recording for the Go Indie Now, and I realized that although I got a ton of stuff done, only 2 of the things that I did actually counted towards my 90-day goals. And I'm becoming more mindful, especially as I realize that my available work time is going to be significantly less starting Monday. I'm becoming more mindful about the time that I use and how I'm using that time. And one of the things that I realized yesterday while I was working on a social media tracker sheet is that I have a social media problem, y'all, which I know that's not news. We all know I have a social media problem. I've had it for a while. Hello, Chris. Welcome, welcome. But between my social media pages and OWS social media pages, Facebook groups, LinkedIn, our newsletters, all of those social media platforms that we're running, not counting Google Plus, because Google Plus is going away, but we're still posting there, but I'm not working on growing them. So this was a growth tracker sheet to work with ISA on. And between all of those platforms, we have 26 platforms, y'all. 26 platforms. And you know that we teach that you're supposed to spend a minimum of 15 minutes a day for each platform. No wonder I don't feel like I could ever get anything done. It's insane. And then when you're doing, you're trying to grow those platforms as well, you have to spend more than 15 minutes. And I realized that I have got to let go of some of my social media. I have to. It's non-negotiable. And the reality is that Facebook is the platform that I get the least engagement with, that I get the least views and responses to without boosting posts, without paying money. So I am not going to focus on growing Facebook anymore. And I would like for you guys to join me over on Patreon. I'm not letting you go, Rebecca, and I won't close my pages. Absolutely not going to close my groups. But there's going to be a lot less activity over here. And you're not going to see and it was really sad because I was like, oh, hey, I saw 14 new members in our group in the last week. That's awesome. But when, our group has quadrupled in the last month and my posts views are going down when there's more people in the group, there's something wrong. And it's Facebook's, they want us to pay to play. That's really what it is. And Twitter is heading that way too, and I'm getting frustrated with that. But so point is, Patreon, for those of you who don't know, I'm surprised you don't know, but some of you guys are new, and I haven't talked about my Patreon in over a month. Patreon, the more I use it, the more I love it. The reality is that they don't hide my posts from my readers. They don't restrict my access to the people who say that they want to stay in touch with me. You see what you see based on what you choose to do on Patreon. And I think a lot of people are resistant to moving to Patreon because they've gotten so used to authors giving away so much stuff for free. And a lot of authors, and I'll admit I was guilty of it too, when we went over to Patreon, we were focusing on the paid part so much. We were focusing on the different tiers, and we were focusing on controlling access on our end so that you had to pay to play. And I'm doing things differently over on Patreon because of that. For mine, I am going to have all the stuff that I was posting on Facebook and Twitter and all these other places. I'm just going to funnel that there, and the stuff that everybody was getting for free on these other pages, you'll still get for free on my Patreon, but you'll get it in one place. So you don't have to chase down my content all over the other places. And that will, one, allow me to post a lot less frequently, because instead of having, for example, an article that I have to create a Pinterest image for, I have to create an Instagram image for to make them viable on those systems, and then I have to come up with a short, pithy quote on Twitter and a new image that fits the Twitter thing too. Rebecca, yes, Patreon lets you get free stuff too. And what I'm going to do on Patreon is I'm going to have two different levels of free. So right now in Facebook, there are a bunch of people who follow me just for my reader stuff, and they're just following my page. All of my reader focused things, that being when I'm doing book reviews, when I'm doing author interviews, all of those things will be on my Patreon. For anybody, whether they follow me or not, they'll be able to see it when they're in Patreon. And then the content that I'm providing for you guys here in the Geek Street Squad will be, you have to follow me to be able to get that. But that's it. You don't have to pay anything to be able to get that content for free. You'll still be getting that stuff for free. And then if there's other things that, you want extra access to, like I'm already doing, Survivalist Bible is the free books the books that you guys are getting a month early from everybody else, which is basically free. You're paying the same price for it that you would pay if you were getting it from Amazon, but you don't have to wait a month before you get to read it. And then I'm going to start releasing early release chapters of the Hell School series on another tier. I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do that, but you'll get to see it raw, unedited, and the beginning workings. And then, with Discord added to it, we can create extra groups if we want to do that. For people who aren't interested in the Pinterest stuff, I can have like the pretty book pictures on one. I'm still playing with how I want to do it, but I would much rather do that because Patreon is designed, because they have the pay to play model already put in place with the different tiers and all of that stuff. They're not looking for advertisers. They're not looking to force us to make you pay. And because the hope is that we're creating content that you like enough that you're willing to pay those next levels. So that is what I'm going to be focusing on the next 90 days, is transitioning as much of my audience is over to Patreon as possible. Again, you'll still be getting the free content, and you won't have to follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and YouTube and all of these other places to get all of that stuff. Obviously, if you're following me on those places and you don't want to go to Pinterest, at least for a little while, you'll still be getting all of that stuff there. But the great, not Pinterest, Patreon. Anyway, but the thing that's great about Patreon is that I can share the videos on Patreon. I can share the images on Patreon. I can share articles on Patreon. I can share everything. Patreon is the best of all the social media worlds put into one space. So I'm going to be playing with how best to provide the content so that you get what you want and you get to enjoy those things. But hello, Wendy. Welcome. But in the meantime, I've got to do less on all of the other platforms, because with me going to work, I can't maintain 26 platforms. It's just insane. So yeah, that's the big exciting thing for today. And hopefully working that transition will allow us to have better engagement, because I know some of you guys, you see every single post, and then some of you don't get the notifications. And that's the case on Twitter and Facebook, and it's on all of them is the issue. And so some of you get way too many. I mean, like Twitter, I'm supposed to post 15 times a day on Twitter. And in the hopes that some of you will see it 2 or 3 times. But then there are others who have a much smaller following that are seeing it 150 times a day. And they're just like, I'm just so sick of this woman. I don't want to follow her anymore. So I don't want to do that. And I'm realizing that a lot of these philosophies out there for all these different platforms, it's not about how to engage with our groups. It's not about how to interact with each other in a positive way. It's all about, how do I disrupt your experience and make sure that you pay attention to me? And if that's not the most narcissistic thing I've ever heard, I just, as a marketer, that style of marketing bothers me. It's aggressive. It's disrespectful. And I don't want to be that kind of a marketer, and I don't want to play those games. So I want to move things over to Patreon so that we can have the relationship that we want to have together without having to play these stupid games and either of us having to pay to engage, but then having levels where, I can learn a living and you can not feel like you're being cheated paying for it. So that's my goal with Patreon. And again, I'm not going to shut Facebook down, but there's going to be a lot less engagement and a lot less effort, because Facebook's taking it away from us anyway. So, yeah, that's my plan for that. And for today, I have a good meeting with another author to talk about merchandising. I'm super excited. And then I'm working on websites, and we'll have Survivalist Bible up today as well. So yeah, that's what I am doing. And until next time, keep reading.